There's really only two ways to spend your marketing budget. That's demand creation and demand capture.
We're going to reverse engineer how you can look at somebody's content strategy and understand what they're doing and what they're doing to grow.
Here's how Canva generates 170 million organic search hits every month.
And the reason I'm giving you this game too is a lot of times you hear so much about strategy and it's very hard to take that. Okay, well, what should I do? What ideas should I have from this? Like, what should we make?
Nah, bro, you can't say that publicly.
All right, welcome to another episode of Sweat Equity Show. I'm not going to call it the Sweat Equity Podcast. I don't want to infringe a trademark.
Yeah.
But this is episode 28. So I got a lot of heat today. Everything I'm going to be talking about is content marketing. So the kind of the pillars I'm going to be talking about in this episode is one, brand storytelling, understanding what that means. A lot of times it's like a bird's eye view of, oh, you need to be doing storytelling. Okay, when we actually break that down from a brand's perspective, what is that? Then content marketing 2.0. There's a big shift between content marketing and the definition that we see on Google today versus what it actually is. The third thing I'm going to talk about is called the grid test. There's this test that I run through. It's a framework that I use that you could essentially reverse engineer any brand's content strategy by just looking at their grid. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on is content every brand should make. Kind of five or six different ideas that they could implement, have it be part of their pillars. That's what I got. What you got?
It's a jam-packed itinerary right there.
Yeah, hopefully I could get through all this.
My God, I hope each one's one sentence. I think, on the flip side of it, I'm talking about two different buckets that you should look at when you're thinking about where to allocate your marketing budget. So there's demand creation and demand capture. Yeah. So going to talk through some different examples of popular brands and companies that have utilized both strategies. And maybe from that conversation, a listener will see which one fits their marketing budget more.
So the first thing I want to touch on is brand storytelling. So we hear this a lot that like, or it's at least a common Twitter post to see people say storytelling is the best marketing strategy. And I get what they're trying to say, but when you actually dissect it, or when you're like a new brand or you're somebody that's wearing a marketing hat and you're new to it and you see that, you're like, what the hell does that mean? Like it's such generic advice. So I'm gonna try to break it down into actually tactical advice. So storytelling is taking your mission, vision, and value prop and amplifying it to influence the perception of potential customers. That is what storytelling is. And I'll go from big brands to smaller brands on how they've done it. With Nike, they say you're an athlete. Olipop says this is better for you soda. Liquid Death says aluminum sucks or we're outlaws. BPN is go on more. Represent is on a mission, right? So the idea is this is like the core of their story. And then every piece of content that they create amplifies that narrative, amplifies that story until it forms an identity that like is part of you and the reason you wear a brand. There's a reason why I wear a lot of Represent. There's a reason why I wear a lot of Nike, right? There's a reason why even I drink Olipop. I'm like, there's the narrative that they've created that this is a better for you soda. And it's Friday. I'm trying to kick it. I'm trying to enjoy a soda, but I don't want a Dr. Pepper.
Were you a soda guy as a kid?
No.
You weren't a big soda kid?
You're trying to say I was chunky. No.
No, I was just like, I might have been insinuating. I was trying to stoke some flames. You're right.
No, I was not a soda kid at all. I was Gatorade kid, but like any.
You see the recent breakdown in Gatorade and like the ingredients and how much sugar and like other artificial ingredients. I mean, talk about storytelling. Like, so that's one way to do it.
Yeah. When it comes to soda, I was a soda guy in two different scenarios. Either A, at the beach with like the fam. And it was like, you're cracking open a Coke or you're cracking open a Sprite or something like that. And then for some reason, water parks. Like I couldn't be at a water park and not have like a Coke. But I never drank the full thing.
Yeah.
Then I'll give you the one weird thing that I did as a kid. Pizza. So anytime I had pizza, it was always Papa John's. And when I had Papa John's, I had to dip the pizza in Coke.
Nah, bro, you can't say that publicly.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you another weird thing.
Actually crazy.
Another weird thing I did. For some reason, my anytime I'm Hispanic, right, and we eat rice with everything.
Yeah.
Eggs in the morning with rice.
Bro, tell me why I thought you were about to say like rice with the pizza and the Coke.
No. But it was rice, and for some reason, I would drench the rice in water and eat it like that.
We have to move on before we start losing every listener we have. Okay, we're gonna lose all respect.
So. The idea is that you're fueling this narrative, and this narrative gets fueled through content or paid ads or your copy, whatever. And the truth is, though, that your story can evolve as you grow. 2017, Olipop's story was prebiotic tonic for people with gut issues. Their story now, 2024, is we're a healthy alternative to soda.
Yeah.
So what makes it a story is understanding the narrative that you're attempting to create and then using every touch point, whether it's email, SMS, your content, your ads, whatever. You're using all of those touch points to fuel this narrative. So it's almost like this idea of world building, but brand building through the same lens. Now that's the brand storytelling part. We need to use that as a prerequisite to content marketing, because content marketing is the new way of fueling that fire. So content marketing 1.0, this is the definition. I'm just going to read it from Google. A type of marketing that involves the creation and sharing of online material such as videos, blogs, and social media posts. And that does not explicitly promote a brand, but is intended to stimulate interest in its products or services. What a fucking hard definition to read.
Yeah.
New definition of content marketing. I made this: developing and creating content to drive a narrative that impacts the perception of your brand's mission, vision, and values. Again, this goes back to the idea that you're trying to develop those values and put those values and narratives out there so that it forms the identity in somebody's like heart and mind, essentially, that they align with the brand. So the next thing I kind of want to do is understanding that content marketing, what content marketing 2.0 is. We're going to reverse engineer how you can look at somebody's content strategy and understand what they're doing and what they're doing to grow. So the first thing I like to do is I like to start with data. And in this case, we're going to look at Tracksmith Running. I've talked about them on the pod before, but briefly. So what I like to do is I like to go to Social Blade. And on Social Blade, I look for outlier growth. So if you look at, I think this period of January 22nd through January 29th of 2024, like all of the month of January, they added 50,000 followers. So you look at their growth and it's like this, and then all of a sudden it's like this giant spike. What was that giant spike? Why did that happen? So I like to look for outlier growth. And at that point, that's where I ask myself, like, well, why did it happen? And then we reverse engineer. We look at the dates, we look at the data, we reverse engineer it. So the next thing I like to do is I use this tool called Viral Finder. Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard of that.
Cool. So with Viral Finder, you can go to an account, put in their app, and it'll show you all their top performing content from best to worst. And so what I like to do there, again, is looking at the data, looking at the brand. I put Tracksmith in there, and it starts telling me shows me their top content from, some of these reels that have 121,000 likes down to, things that have 5,000 likes. But it's, again, in order from best to worst. But I'm observing 4 things here. I'm observing content types, content formats, content purpose, content story. And then I'm looking for common denominators. For example, structure, delivery, all those things. For Tracksmith, 5 out of their top 6 posts are IG Reels, branded storytelling, awareness driven, and all stemming from their For the Love of Running campaign. And so again, being able to look at this data, you start to understand what are the common denominators and things that stick, things that go viral, things that work, things that grow a brand. So there's one way I like to scale this information. I'm sure you've heard of SparkTuro. Mm-hmm. So with SparkTuro, I like to go into SparkTuro, and now I plug in Tracksmith Running. Plugging in Tracksmith Running, I can now select this tag or feature that they have that's like my audience follows the social account at Tracksmith Running. By putting that in, it's now going to show me social accounts they follow, websites they visit, going back a little bit. It's now going to show me the demographic of Tracksmith Running and what other pieces of content they consume, or what other YouTube channels they consume, or IG accounts. So it will show me social accounts they also follow, websites they visit, some high engagement hidden gems, some niche hidden gems, and those are different pages and websites and whatnot. So then I just continue running through the same steps. I look at, 45% of people that follow Tracksmith Running also follow Runner's World. Okay, let's go through that same process now, but with Runner's World, where I plug them into Viral Finder and I look at their top content and I'm observing content types, formats, purpose, story. And then you'll see the common denominators. Their top 6 posts are graphics, news and story based, awareness driven, or history of running, so it's interesting to see like what resonates with that community. And then you can look at, you could keep going through this and essentially be able to look at this from a bird's eye view and be like, okay, I see these 20 different content types, formats, structures, stories, purposes, etc. How do I reduce this down for my brand and what fits my brand and the narrative that I'm trying to tell? And you could essentially keep running through this, because I like to have 4 concrete answers before developing the content marketing strategy. The first one is, what content types does my audience or similar audience like to consume? What content formats does my audience or similar audience engage with? What is the best content for specific goals? Example, awareness, sales. What stories resonate with my audience or similar audience? Okay. That's now like kind of this reverse engineering and understanding the strategy. The next thing I'd like to do is I created what's called the grid test. Have I talked to you about the grid test?
Not yet.
So this is how I like to understand how a brand is testing and what they're actually doing for their content strategy. So what I like to do here is you look at a brand's last 15 social posts, and then you dissect it post by post. And again, you're kind of answering the same questions as above: content types, content formats, content purpose, content story. So in this case, I'll look at On Running. In the past, I made a video about them too, and I gave them a ton of shit. Just like, you guys have a lot of potential to do dope shit. You're not doing it. This isn't why they're doing dope stuff now, because they've iterated very fast, but their content now has been like top tier, stellar. But if you look at their top 15 posts, or their last 15 posts, and we'll share it on the screen. When I look back at their content strategy, these are their pillars. So like looking at essentially the same thing that I'm running through, their pillars are behind the scenes variation. So they have behind the scenes on athletes, products, and campaigns. Then they have athlete and influencer content. Same thing, behind the scenes, challenges, products, and series. Then campaign education, where they're talking about the different products, the different materials, even like different workouts Olympians use to train. When you look at the 15 posts, they all fall into those kind of pillars and those pillar variations. But the purpose of their content falls primarily into two buckets. The first one is to drive hype and awareness for a new product line, and then bringing followers behind the scenes with their brand and athletes to increase that affinity. We get you to fall in love with the brand, then we're going to tell you about our products. We're going to get you to fall in love with the brand, we're going to tell you about our products. The interesting part is 90% of their content is IG Reels. The other 10% is content is carousels. And those carousels are always just about product lines. So really their growth content is IG Reels. Like, that is what's working for them. Then what's working on the engagement side for product and showcasing product is carousels. So again, just an interesting test to use. Like, go look at any brand, run it through the grid test and be like, okay, what are the 15 posts, or what are the last 15 posts? And go through it piece by piece. And like, I made this Google sheet that I have pillar, type, purpose, format, story. And I literally break it down. I don't know if you guys could see this on here, but I literally break it down piece by piece to be able to see those common denominators. It's almost like Sam Parr with his like copy work, where you take a sales letter and you write it piece by piece, word by word, until you understand it. It's the same thing with content. You could do that by doing this. And then the last thing I want to talk about, I told you I was going to run through this fast because I know there's a lot on the agenda. I'm trying to run through it fast for you.
I'm shocked. This is next level.
Dialed. This is the last part.
Yeah.
Is you, and the reason I'm giving you this game too is a lot of times you hear so much about strategy, and it's very hard to take that into then like, okay, well, what should I do? What ideas should I have from this? Like, what should we make? Well, here's content that every brand should make. The first one is make a founding story video or a series around the founding story.
Make it 20 times.
Yes. Skin it as many times as possible.
Yeah.
Because people connect with the what if they know the why. And the company that's done this best, in my opinion, is Midday Squares. And we talk about them a lot, but they have a founding story where it literally opens up that it's like, you want to know why we started our company? Spite. So these 4 chocolate brands have taken over and like they tell their story through the lens of like why they're doing this and who they're going against. Yeah. And it got 5 million views or 7 million views. Like, it literally catapulted their channel. And I hate to use the word catapult.
Yeah. There's a couple of brands like that have done this really well on, obviously TikTok is a format that can really amplify and go viral quickly. One of them is this brand called Feel Goods, which is a hydration.
Feel Goods?
Yeah. It's a hydration packet that, he essentially talks about how all these other different supplements were just, making you feel like shit. And he takes the non-toxic angle, and he's like, I didn't understand why this wasn't readily available and with ingredients that didn't poison you. So I just had to make it myself. There's another one, Mosey Laundry. And
I have that on here.
Yeah. And he does a really good job where, you just look at the laundry detergent market and wonder, why is it the way it is? Yeah. And he actually was, ballsy enough to build an alternative, and they do a good job as well.
They're on here as well because they do a lot of good product showcase videos as well. The next is a TV show like series. So when I was at the Collective and Rudy and Charles were there as well, like, we had a series called Cold Hard Truth, and you've seen it. It's, we would bring in somebody like Jamar Chase or Cody Sanchez, and they would get into the cold tub for 3 to 5 minutes and we'd ask them rapid fire questions. And it was just like this fun way of us creating a series that was repeatable and scalable. And we could do over and over again that our audience loved. It was like 1 minute series, but it just crushed because you got so much information and like personality and entertainment within 59 seconds.
Yeah.
The other one that I really like is BuildSpace. BuildSpace.so, I think it is. And they have a series where they're essentially like I don't want to call them a WeWork, but like a WeWork for founders.
Is that the SF thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, I don't care what you're building, but you build it here. Like you're going to be connected with a bunch of other builders. They have a series where it's like, this is Brian and he's building a TikTok shop agency, but 2 years ago he hated X, and like, it's very story driven, but they do this for every single member and they've blown up. Like, dude, all of these have in the range of like 100,000 to millions of views
on YouTube,
Instagram.
Oh, really?
YouTube. I don't know what they're doing on YouTube other than like they put out a banger video recently that I loved. The other is On Running. Again, they have a series that got 13 million views, 13 or 14 million views. And it was this girl, Lydia, and they sent Lydia to all these different countries. And Lydia was just meeting up with other creators that kind of aligned with On Running, the lifestyle of On Running. And they would go on a run and they would show her around the city. They would take her on a trail or some kind of path, and she would interview them on that run. And it was just like this fun way of doing it. It was just this fun way of doing an interview series where it wasn't just sit down, talk like this. Like they're running. It's very engaging. And then she was great at creating content. Like one of the things she does really well, it's like this technique called Pope in the Pool. So if like I'm saying a hook right now and I'm like, so today I'm going to Belgium to run with X person. Instead of me just saying that to the camera, I'm putting sunscreen on my face. I'm putting my hat on. I'm putting my glasses on as I say that. And it's called Pope in the Pool, where you're saying something while you do something else so that the thing that you're doing, that's something else, gets you stuck on what you were saying. And it's a way of like just keeping somebody very engaged. But this was another series. It drove 50,000 followers for On Running, like absolutely crushed. It was shot on an iPhone. It probably cost, other than sending her to these places and accommodation and stay and paying her for the campaign, probably didn't cost like, that's a lot of things, but it didn't cost that much in comparison to like a brand campaign that On Running does.
Yeah.
I mean, and Matt Troy, who I'm hanging out in a little bit, he did the same thing. He did like a mile run. Well, he does 2 different series now. He did a mile run where they would run on Lady Bird and he'd interview them. And then now he does like the 1 mile challenge. He brings on a guest and he's like, what do you think you could run today in the 1 mile? And then he paces them and it's sick. And it's like, again, he gets a collab with all these people, but it's a great series where when you create an expectation with something like a series, you form a habit. And so now when somebody gets your content on their feed, they know what to expect from you. So therefore they watch it.
Yeah.
But the advice I'll give for anybody that wants to create a series, you want to make it something that's very repeatable. It's not hard to repeat, and a lot of effort doesn't go into repeating it. Second, is it scalable? Is it something you could do for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? Think of it like a TV show. Fear Factor, Bachelorette, like all these things, there's a theme and they could repeat it and scale it over and over again. The next is for a brand, is it simple? Is it something that's simple to make? The last 4 are a behind the brand or product. I think a lot more brands are doing this because they're understanding that the most of your revenue is going to come from like a specific pool of customers, and you want to develop that pool of customers as fast as possible. So brand that does this really well on YouTube is ASRV. They have a series on YouTube where it's like completely behind the product is motivation for the product, the inspo. It's like, hey, I was looking at Japanese art, and because of that, I'm now doing this collection and stuff like that. And again, it gets you really into the product. Unfinished Legacy, I've talked about them, but they'll kind of tell the story behind every every product, every shirt that they make, like why they designed it, what's the thought process. And then the 3 that we've talked about enough on here is Represent and Cadence. They're YouTube, and they're kind of behind the brand series. A newer one that's doing is Pure Sport. Have you seen this supplement brand? Pure Sport, I think, is a British company, but they just started behind the brand series as well, where they're doing, of course, run clubs and all that shit. But they're documenting their entire journey of like growing the company. And it's pretty dope to watch. If you thought my shit was slow though, then theirs is slower.
Yeah,
they're doing more. Like there's more scenes.
They're leaning all the way into the like retention editing is bad angle.
Yeah.
They're just giving you a 40-minute single shot.
Dude, I watched, who was it? I sent it to Rudy. I don't remember who it was. But
Was
it
it Logan
like,
Paul's editor?
no. Hillier
Yeah,
Smith?
Hillier.
No. It was this guy. Maybe it's like somebody for 100 Thieves or something like that. But he has a vlog, dude, and it's an hour and a half. But the crazy part is it's like fast paced an hour and a half.
Wow.
But I couldn't watch it. I was like, this is just too much. It was like retention based mixed with an hour and a half is a lot on your brain.
It sounds like it would actually make your
I'll
brain
send it
turn
to you just so
mush.
you watch the first 10 minutes and be like, damn, like it's good, but way too much.
Yeah.
The last three, product showcase videos. So have you ever seen buttermilk.ca on IG? Check them out. It's going to make you, you know how I just ordered Cabo Bob's? Like this is going to make you want to get, have you ever had Happy Chicks?
Happy Chips?
Yeah. Happy Chicks.
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. It's right on 6th Street. You gotta Uber Eats this to you. Best chicken tenders, sorry, in Austin.
Happy Chicks?
Yeah. And look at these product videos. They're so simple,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like this giant chicken tender and then like some kind of sauce. And they just like do like these little, they just dip the tender into it. And dude, they go viral like nonstop because they just found it's a simple format, but they figured out what works for them, which is just, this is mouth watering. Like this is going to make our place a destination when people come visit us.
Yeah.
The other one is Joy Resolve. Have you ever seen them?
No.
Like I think they're like an espresso machine, but they're crazy espresso machine. Like again, I don't know how to describe it, so you'd have to look at it. But a
tea and coffee alarm clock.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. The coffee alarm clock. Their product video is so good because they tell the story about waking up to coffee, but during the story, they're showing you the product, like how to use the product. So instead of just it being a regular product video of like, hey, we just dropped this, check it out. It's like, you want to wake up to coffee. Like, have you ever dreamed about coffee being your alarm clock? Okay, well, like, here's how you could do it, right? And it's like this story, this narrative that they're telling, and then using the product to kind of tell it.
Yeah.
The last one is brand updates. Or no, that's not the last one. Second to last one, brand updates. It's very simple. Olipop does a really good job of this. They use IG and TikTok as a communication tool. Like the idea of Instagram isn't just a place to showcase everything. It is a communication tool with the people that follow the brand, love the brand. If you check out their page, they do a very good job of this, of being like, we have new products coming out. You can find them at Costco. Midday Squares also does this really well. Guys, if you hear us repeating brands on here over and over again, there's a reason for that, and you should pay attention to everything they do, by the way. Olipop, Midday Squares, like we talk about them a lot, but on different things that they do, and there's reasons for that. Last one, influencer and creator content. That means finding the few influencer outliers or creators that align with your brand, using them in some kind of content. It could also be using them in some TV show like series or behind the brand product. The idea there is like you're bridging their audience to your product. But that was a lot of rambling. So what are your thoughts on how kind of content marketing has changed from how it was legitimately like 5 to 7 years ago to what it is now? 7 years ago, it was like, you got to get the blogs out and you got to do keyword stuff and all this shit. And like that was content marketing. But what it is now is so different.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff has two different components to it, I would say, which is one is the platforms are changing.
Yeah.
And as a result, people's behavior and how they absorb your marketing is also changing. So it's no secret that every single person is just peppered with ads all day long. And at this point, most people are tuning out virtually any advertisement. There's probably an echo chamber in our world where people are looking at it saying, this ad did so well.
Yeah.
The Apple ad is a great example. Everyone's so outraged about it. And if you asked any of your friends that aren't actually in marketing or creative work, they'd have been like, what Apple ad?
Yeah.
I didn't even see it.
Dude,
you know?
even Fias, like I told him about it. I was like, dude, I got to make a video about this Apple ad. He goes,
yeah.
What Apple ad?
Yeah. And I think similarly with regards to content marketing changing, how it has to evolve from just SEO driven blogs and stuff like that. How many times have you gotten frustrated looking up a simple recipe and had to read an entire SEO optimized article to get to the actual instructions 75% down? Like all of that stuff is going away. And how that evolves for brands and particularly like software companies, which are very lead gen magnet focused, blogs and case studies and stuff like that, it's going to take different forms of a way to like get across to people. And so all the different formats you just described it's not just CPG brands and restaurants and like stuff like that needs to understand how to create short form stories. It's going to have to be software companies as well. You know, like SEO is going to change dramatically. I mean, in the next 5 years, if you think, you know, I was thinking about this the other day because I'm going up to Denver, a city I lived in for a while. And I was just Googling stuff to do with your mom in Denver. I know some restaurants, I know some bars to go out to, but like what's like maybe an activity that we could do that I haven't thought of yet. And the results are so trash, it's insane. Like Google's ability to deliver an actual good result to you is gone.
They should put just TikToks at the front.
They should.
They should just put TikToks on the front.
And TikTok tries to do this with the UGC stuff, but that whole world is going to evolve. Like that's a better question for ChatGPT. If ChatGPT can put a better result in front of you.
Are you saying it's changing on TikTok because now it's all paid shit? Like it's almost like now ads, like, right? Like it's another version of ads.
It's the same thing. Like dollars come for everything. So, you know, it's kind of what we've talked about with the local Austin restaurant and bar scene is, you know, it's table stakes for any new place that's opening to pay the same 10 influencers to do hey, this new place is dropping on X date. You have to come check it out. And then they do a short form video on it. So I think above all else, brands just need to understand like what their story is, which is exactly what you just described. And then also those mediums to communicate it in. Because you have to either interrupt someone's pattern or they're a diehard of you, but there's very little in between. Like marketing has to continue to get more and more stand out rather than at this point, I think people are so used to just an auto swipe on anything that turns them off to being an advertisement.
So there's this company called Loop. I don't know if you've heard of it, but this guy from John Henry from here in Austin, and the way it is software, it's like car insurance. And he like used this narrative that brown and black people pay more for car insurance. And so he turned it into like this entire educational series for the launch. And they collected a like 100,000 person wait list before they launched by creating like a series around their problem, like the problem that they're trying to solve. So he's one good example of somebody that's doing this on the software side that I'm like, there's something to pay attention to here. Yeah. And I had a meeting yesterday with, I'm not going to name the brand, but probably an apparel and shoe brand that we both know, but their founders, the craziest thing that was, we were on the call and he's like, asking us for background, and then he's like, like giving a little bit of background about himself and like super humble, but just throws around like, so like, you know, we're building this now and we have this, and you know, we had a 9-figure exit a few years ago, and just like throws that in so casually. It was great. But anyways, starting a software company, and we're probably gonna do like the playbooks for him, and his whole thing is like, dude, the way you market a software company now is you have to figure out how to make people like it and care about it through content versus purely just lead gen, demand gen, like understanding how to build up the pipeline. Yeah, it's super interesting. There's a big shift. There's a big shift happening. It's good to see it. And what I always like to say is like, look at DTC brands and CPG brands if you're in software and follow what they're doing for you. You have to figure out what your twist is, but you need to see what those brands are doing because they're the ones that really understand culture. Software companies don't. Yeah. You know, HubSpot's probably one of the brands that understands culture as like huge company and a huge software company, but in reality, they don't.
And I think even with HubSpot, they've not struggled, but it seems like they're slowing down their acquisition warpath of the podcast network and some different attempts to go into more of a entertainment focused media, because I bet it was just not driving tangible business outcomes.
No, it was. The amount of revenue generation that my first million, and I know that's an outlier, was driving for HubSpot, but I will tell you off air, was insane. So was the hustle as well.
Right. But like that's, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't know how scalable that is. Like I think you can't just say because the hustle and MFM did so well that the rest of their acquisitions would. And so it is kind of catching lightning in a bottle, like many things. I mean, a lot of results come strictly from that one viral video.
But I kind of see it as like, you're going to have a lot of draft picks, and one draft pick is going to be that outlier that changes the company. Yeah. And in this case, like they wouldn't have done MFM the hustle unless they were like, hey, we're going to do this podcast network or podcast creator network. we're not going to build this media arm. And like, that was their draft pick. Like that was their number one draft pick that then did drive, like it worked. It drove significant amount of revenue for the company and was like better than advertising on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and all these different channels. One of the brands that I forgot to mention, one of the software brands, because we were just talking about this, is Square. They're very good at actually creating content like a DTC or CPG brand. So they'll do different branded series where they go to like merchants, and they'll go to this person's barbershop, and they'll kind of do those interview style videos where they're getting the owner to explain like why they started the barbershop, the design, and all this. And they do it for different merchants that use Square. Then they also will do like 3 must-visit coffee shops in Sacramento. And and like this reel has 1,400 likes. Like that's not a little, like that's probably 30, 50,000 views, maybe 100,000 views. And again, it's like all the people that they're showcasing in these videos are merchants, are people using Square. So again, it's this idea of like, if you're a software brand, there's a lot of stories to be told through your customer's lens. You don't specifically have to only talk about you and your product and what you do. Go to your customers. There's stories within your customers, and then use your customers as the core of your content. And now you essentially get to piggyback off of them. Like you're known as this big brand. Of course, they're going to want to associate themselves with this big brand, and they do collab content. They have 180,000 followers. Like they're going to leverage this. They can leverage this for themselves, but they do a lot of cool stuff on IG. Of course, I don't follow them because I don't want to follow Square, but they understand what to do on the content side as a software brand, dude. Like going all over the world, doing educational content on the secrets to success, doing behind these different brands, and then like again, kind of like almost like travel content, but based on their merchants. Pretty fascinating to see.
Yeah, it's so smart on their part. There's a lot of different software companies should start thinking that way, and I wonder how they can pivot to even working with influencers.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen the Vic Blends thing where he did the show with Tom Brady?
Yeah.
And that sort of content, like if Square is like sponsoring, showing Vic Blends uses Square as his point of sale, that type of stuff, the natural integration of their products is going to really be huge.
I don't know why we didn't do a Tom Brady roast reaction video on this pod.
Yeah.
We're back, baby. That's all I gotta say. We're back.
Jesus.
We're back.
Yeah, that was some heavy hitters there.
Yeah, what you got?
I just want to talk a little bit about what different buckets people should be allocating their marketing budget to.
Yep.
There's 2 different types. Number one is demand creation. The other one is demand capture. So let's talk a little bit about demand creation. This is typically anything guerrilla marketing, viral marketing, paid ads can be one method of this. Few different examples. I've actually got 3. So number one, have you seen Date the Right Stuff?
No. Date the Right Stuff?
Yeah. So it's a dating app for conservatives, and it's been
Date the Right Stuff.
Yeah. Date the Right Stuff, or Date Right Stuff. And it's a dating app for conservatives, and the entire go-to-market strategy for them thus far has been the founder making the most obscene, triggering TikTok you could possibly imagine. It's like POV, I'm a liberal, and then he'll just walk through all sorts of different things. Or he actually had a viral video go recently where he said when a homeless person asks them for money, he gives them a fake $5 bill. And his entire strategy is, how can I create the most like inflammatory content towards one audience, and then stuff that would be funny to another audience. And then the funnel is, it's a dating app strictly for the audience that would think that stuff is funny. I'm not weighing in on whether it's obscene or not. I just think it's a really interesting way of your top of funnel. So that's demand creation, right? You didn't even really know, or you could say it's demand capture, but I think it's more so demand creation for his app. But he's saying that he's drawing a line in the sand of people who will like this content and not, and then funneling them into a dating app so that they can find like-minded individuals.
Dude, and you left out that their brand account has 1.4 million followers. And I mean, some of these videos have 140,000 likes. 4.1 million views. Like these go nuts.
He's bigger on TikTok. Yeah, he's got 2.3 million on TikTok.
The founder does?
The founder, the entire account is just the founder.
But like through their brand account?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what it is.
130 million likes on TikTok. So wow. I mean, they've been going stupid.
Wow. Dude, 279 posts and 1.4 million followers is crazy. If we did the math on that, that would be
No,
that is a lot. I'm not going to try, but
he goes
it's a lot.
viral like on command at this point.
Yeah.
So that was one form of demand creation, maybe stepping across the other side of the aisle towards sustainability. But Oatly is a
What a
the oat milk brand. They're obviously big in retail. Started kind of D2C. They did their guerrilla marketing demand creation through billboards. So they would put billboards everywhere saying, we bought this 2-page ad to tell you that we've begun including climate footprint numbers on our products. And then it's a 2-page ad, right? So that's on the left side. On the right side, the other 50% of it is, and we're donating this page to the dairy industry so they can tell you their climate footprint numbers too. So they're basically putting the ball in their competitors' court to say, you guys are bad for the environment. We're being transparent about our numbers. Here's a free advertisement for you as long as you'll just publish what your climate footprint numbers are. It's going to appeal to an audience that is very climate focused and also is something that they're going to see in the wild rather than just a paid advertisement. It's almost less invasive in a way. When you pay to be on someone's social feed, you're really sticking it to them like, look at me, versus someone just comes across this. It's kind of funny, it's silly, and it's out of the box. And so you just have a different perception there. The last one that was interesting from a demand creation perspective is Hero Cosmetics. Did you ever hear about them? They're an acne prevention brand.
Yeah. I think we wrote about them.
Yeah, they got bought for $630 million 2 years ago. They're huge. And obviously, they are very successful on paid acquisition. They were able to get into Ulta and a bunch of other beauty retail outlets. But one of the most unique things they did is they identified a new audience by just pure experimentation. And where did they find that? On Twitch. Wow. So they started product seeding with a bunch of female gamers that are just streaming for hours, right? So you're seeing
they got oily faces because they're not washing their face. They're just gaming, bro. They're gaming. They're like, who are the oiliest people we know? Gamers.
Yeah. And it's particularly women. And so, male gamers don't give a shit about their face.
We saw them. They would use the gamers first guys used to walk through here. It's like, they don't give a shit.
And at least these were kind of like, they had a shot to resonate with the Twitch audience. But
that's so funny.
On Twitch, that's like, this lady's getting 35 million viewers a month. And you're going to get a way better cost per impression there rather than on the paid platforms. And so they seeded a bunch of gamers and were unable to unlock that cohort of customers. And it's like, there's your demand creation of, now all these other female gamers are seeing their idol on Twitch using these products. They're going to be like, damn, my face is oily too. Maybe I got to get down to it.
Yeah.
So that's demand creation, and not just through the standard, I made a good Facebook ad and paid to get it in front of people for paid acquisition. Some out of the box ways to think about, how to get yourself in front of millions of people. The other model is demand capture. So this one's kind of like lead magnet, SEO focused, and there's a few different ways. You can also capture demand through your product. That's something that people don't always appreciate. Like the packaging of your product is a way to capture demand by connecting with someone, like something they want to see, and you just put it on your product as a billboard. We'll get into that later, but I'm sure you're familiar with Canva, obviously, and you've probably written about their marketing strategy before. So
because they crush SEO and like I don't want to get into it because you're probably about to touch on it. But
I mean, the numbers are mind-boggling.
Yes.
It's 170 million organic views
because of the tools, right?
Every single month. And they're the number one ranked thing for invitation template, itinerary template, collage maker, flyer maker, all these different things that just, maybe I need. Who knows? I never know when I need it, but I know I'm going straight to Google whenever I do.
Yeah.
And I don't know where else to even potentially search for that thing on my computer other than Google. And so they were able to become number one ranked for hundreds of thousands of keywords that stack up. Like some of these keywords only have 200 to 500 searches per month. But when you stack all of those together, it's this compounding effect they were able to create.
And the other part with Canva is that to be able to use that template, you do have to create an account.
Right.
And on the back end of all that traffic every single month, whatever that conversion, I mean, there's high intent behind that search too.
Yeah.
You know, you're searching resume template. You're looking to build a resume. So therefore, you're going to go through with that action. And you have to, when you do that and you search and you click on a Canva tool or a template, you have to create an account. Now they get your data, and now they could hit you up via email as much as they want until you unsubscribe. So like they've created such a good funnel on the back end of search intent, creating a tool based on that search intent, and then funneling you down to have to create an account and then eventually create a paid account.
Yeah. And the ways that they kind of funnel people from the free version into the paid to be able to actually use the thing that you just made are definitely something to study for people, but won't get into that.
Yeah.
Another software company that did this really well with kind of a demand capture world is Zapier.
Yep.
So they created this almost first order of operations for them was creating all of their integrations. So what's the number one thing you're going to do if you have to automate something? It's probably going to be cross software.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you can't just do everything from one work suite. And so with Zapier, they created an extensive library of partner integrations first. And then that was like, oh, if I want to do, I want to basically connect my Slack all the way to my CRM.
Yeah.
It's like they wanted to make sure that they had the Slack automations demand capture already built out. So they were product focused with like, okay, we understand that there's going to be people that need this service. We're going to build directly for that.
So you're saying they would build before they added the Slack integration, they would drive the demand for it.
Demand was already there. So the demand would be there for, a Zap that you would create across like, maybe it's a, project is completed in Canva, email sent via Superhuman to director of design. Like they understand that people who use Superhuman are probably going to like need a Canva integration and vice versa. And so they wanted to integrate with all of those common productivity and like Notion, for example, another one.
I'm glad you just brought up Superhuman though, because I was going through all my subscriptions and I realized I've been paying for Superhuman for the last 3 years and not using it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got to axe
I never understand. I mean, the craze about Superhuman, everyone's like, it changes your life. I'm like,
it doesn't.
Just check your.
Unless like I just don't use it well and I'm not that guy. I don't think I'm just like that guy for Superhuman.
Yeah. I mean, if you have that many emails, maybe just like pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah. Like allocate your time more. Anyways, no shade to anyone who uses Superhuman. Maybe a little shade. The last one is HelloFresh. So they were obviously pioneers in the meal prep space. Particularly, they weren't just a meal prep delivery. They would send you the ingredients and you would actually have to cook them yourself. So what's a customer segment that's going to be really conscious of that? Vegans, keto, people that have very specific dietary requirements. And so the way that they shaped their product offerings was specifically around those customers. They knew that the demand was there from people with very specific diets for a meal prep delivery kit, not necessarily the meals, because a lot of those people were more conscious of how it's prepared, what it's prepared in, all that kind of farm to table stuff. They want to cook it themselves. And so you were just sending them the ingredients, but they had to have a very specific set of criteria on those ingredients. And so that's how they structured a lot of their personalization in the product. So the way that they merchandised it was actually to capture demand from those people. So
do you know how big they are?
HelloFresh?
Yeah.
Couple bill.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they public?
They might be.
I have no idea.
I think they might be. I mean, they did $8 billion in revenue last year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, fucking wild. Publicly traded, but they're on the German stock exchange, so I don't know if we recognize that over here.
Yeah.
No shade to the Germans. But yeah, I mean, they're huge. They what's crazy about HelloFresh is they have a lot of M&A actually. Like they have a lot of companies underneath them that they've required. Like they have a pet meal prep delivery service. Like they have like several. They're structured in a very, it almost feels like it's out of an MBA class where they have, a discount option, a high-end option. HelloFresh is the main option. They have different things for different folks in terms of like parents, busy parents. Like they're very structured by, they have a lot more than just their core product offering.
It's crazy they were founded 2011. For some reason, I thought it was gonna be like 2005 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, still a fresh company. Oh,
Yeah.
I did not intend to put fresh in there.
Are you sure?
Swear, but
It's quite a coincidence.
it was not bad though. But yeah, wow, that they're 13 years old, or not even November 2011.
Yeah.
But shit, dude, I think that was a jam-packed
Yeah.
episode.
Dense.
Very dense. I wonder if we do need to be doing a little bit more banter and just chopping it up about like what you're doing with Rectify, what I'm doing with Marketing Examine, kind of things that we're doing on the side, just because we're like hitting these episodes and they're just, I mean, it's information. It's like how Huberman just looks at a camera and is like,
Yeah.
you should be taking vitamin D, staring at the sun, putting your toes in the grass, like very, very dense.
There's few things more intimidating than a 3-hour Huberman podcast about something you actually want to learn about.
Yeah. When I was listening to a Huberman podcast, exactly what you're saying. Like, it's so intimidating to be like, okay, what has Huberman talked about relative to anxiety attacks? It's 3.5 hours. That means there are so many things I need to fix. Like, there's so many things I need to listen to and fix to be able to fix something like this. But yeah, I wish we got to figure out how we could get more feedback from listeners so that we understand, is this too dense?
Yeah.
Because if you are listening to this while you clean, or if you're, just driving, like this is shit that you want to take notes for, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Because that was an hour of just, this is what you should do. Here's how to do it on both sides.
Yeah.
A lot of information.
I think both
But
of
people
us,
like that shit too. All of our reviews, sorry, cut you off. All of our reviews are like, these guys get it.
for sure.
So
Yeah. And by the way, the comments really help us like position this to advertisers and grow the podcast and invest more in the resources. So please keep those coming. But feel free to like DM us on IG, or like we I don't know about you. I mean, if someone reaches out via like a sweat equity based convo, I'm always going to respond. And don't try and sell us anything, but like if you have real feedback on the podcast, like we'd love to hear it, because we're just doing this for that.
maybe we should do 5 episodes a month, and 4 episodes are like this. They're very information dense, but that 5th episode is just us chopping it up. It's like we don't need a prep.
Yeah.
It's us talking about what we're doing, what we're building. It's more BTS behind the people putting in the sweat equity to build our own companies on the side. Like,
For sure.
I think that would be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would. I was saying that we could have started with your CrossFit thing, because
For sure.
I don't think you've like explained that to
No.
people. And like for the average person, like me, I don't even know or have any like appreciation for what goes into anything that's going on.
Yeah.
I just see you like snatching 300 racks, and I'm like, must be nice to have them short ass arms. Charles didn't even pay attention anymore.
He would have laughed at that one.
100%.
100%. Yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should try it. 5 episodes, 4 that are information dense. 5th is behind the scenes.
And that one could be like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it could literally be like, we should even not even do this. We should be sitting on the couch like it's a different look.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. If you like this podcast, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify. It really helps us grow. If you got anything you want us to talk about, like we always try and listen to whatever you're asking for, whether that's breakdowns, playbooks, how we'd grow. So leave it in the comments, shoot us a review. And yeah, we'll catch y'all next week.